Hi everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. It said I was on mute, and I was just waiting on it going off there like I usually do. But delighted to be joined by Franny and Ross. How are you both?
Not
Aye, all
bad,
good.
Stephen.
All good.
All
Pretty
good.
in pink
Keep
tonight.
There's an echo going on here again. I don't know where it's coming
Probably
from, but
me. I was just mate to
have you
say.
not have you not stuck it in properly? That sounds so bad,
That's
doesn't
it
it?
now. Is that
Is
all
that
right
it
now?
in?
That's
We're
it in,
flying
kid.
now. But
That's
like we
it.
always do,
Phil.
I mean, we've done it the last few weeks here. Ross, we're working on a Friday, so how's your week been, your weekend? What did you get up to?
Well, a bit like yourself. I'm trying to do a wee bit of a health kick, so I never had any. Well, no, I say I never had any drink. I had 1 pint on Friday. Yeah, it was my anniversary on Friday, so I was out for my dinner. I had 1 pint and I had 1 glass of wine on Saturday, so that's little to nothing for me compared to what I usually drink. So I've done well there.
No, fair play. I mean, like you said, they're on a fitness kick, but sometimes it's slipping a wee McDonald's calorie deficit and all that, Franny. But how
It's
you
all about
getting on?
balance. It's all about balance. It's all about balance. This diet. I am similar to you. I've been going on a couple of runs here and there and that as well. And just back at work, I was on holiday all last week, but not up too much. Just spend some time with the kids. So I just easing myself
Nice
back
one.
in.
Nice one, mate. Nice one. And as always, the numbers are below here. If anyone's feeling in a dark place and I want to speak to someone, get in touch and they'll help you out. And also get in touch with ourselves. We're always here to listen and have a chat. And like Franny is sporting it, Sharna, our show sponsor. I mean, to be fair, it feels like for ages now since we've said we're going to get tops and all sorted, but they're back from holiday and I will be in touch with them shortly and we'll get them sorted out. And also Stephen Coulthard. We haven't forgot about you. We just need to get it sorted. Don't worry, your prize is coming for the Super Six. But yeah, get involved. There's still the discount code underneath in the description below. Some nice tops. I mean, Hearts FC, you could sponsor them. It's a nice maroon looking number. Like, so
Like,
get involved with it. I mean, we're both for maroon. But get involved with it. Get your 10% off and get some nice gear. But we'll get stuck in, Ross, and we'll talk all things Celtic. And we didn't cover the Yokohama game. Obviously, we got beat 6-4. We put on a Japanese tour. We've ended it with a 1-0 win against Cambo Osaka. So we'll start with the most recent game, just to and then we'll go back into the Yokohama game later on in the podcast. But watching it, I mean, I got a link sorted out. It worked perfectly well. And I know there was a lot of people online was cracking up that their stream was caught in a constant cycle of the same state of play over and over again. But to be fair, you can probably copy and paste first half and second half. It was probably like that. It was a pre-season friendly. It was decent crowd, sticky pitch, 2 different teams each half. How did you feel? Obviously, ending the Japan tour on a win.
Well, it's always good to get a win, friendly or no. But again, you never read too much into it. I was similar with my link a couple of times. It just kept playing a loop of the same bit of the game. But it was only 2 or 3 times it happened. I saw most of the game, and I was probably a bit more lucky than others. But I thought we played well in spells. We started the game all right. I was very impressed with James Forrest in the first half. Likewise, I was impressed with Turnbull. 2 Scottish guys, 2 guys that have been on the periphery under Ange. Could they stake a claim? Who knows? Time will tell. But it was a decent game. I thought, although we won 1-0, I think, and you have to take into account the fact that we completely changed to a totally different 11 in the second half. So you're not going to get that sort of fluidity, and you're not anyway at this stage of the season. But I felt we were kind of probably 1-0 was quite lucky. Not lucky, but I don't think we probably didn't deserve to win the game. Certainly in the second half, I know we had a younger sort of back line, but they had their chances in that game, and they weren't as clinical, let's say, as Yokohama. Obviously, they're not as good a team, but again, it's a friendly. It's minutes in the legs, and we move on to Wolves on Saturday. I'm sure it is.
100%, mate. And I do get what you're saying. I mean, Ross pointed it out, Franny. Like, you changed the teams, 2 different halves. Cambo Osaka, to be fair to them, probably had the better opportunities. I thought a draw probably would have suited both parties. I know we don't like losing or or drawing any game pre-season. But at the end of the day, it's that old cliche: getting minutes in the legs. And watching that Twitter compilation of all these managers saying it was quite funny. But you look at it, we had a goal chalked off for offside. Maeda, it wasn't offside. Same happened to him. And obviously the man of the hour, Bernabei, who, by the way, I'm not doing this to wind up Ross. He came on the second half. He came on the second half, I believe, and we broke out from a corner kick. He was on the right hand side. He played an awful pass for the outside of his foot, like he did. Well, he tried to do the same one he done for Abada in Portugal, but it didn't quite pull off this time. But to be fair to him, Franny, he chased the ball down. He chased down the right back. He chased down the goalkeeper. He got his rewards and put the ball in the back of the net and give Celtic the only win in Japan.
I mean, it did give Celtic the only win in Japan, but as Ross said in the group chat, if that was Joe Hart as a keeper, you'd be seeing a lot of different things tonight. I mean, yeah, I got Joe Hart against Yokohama when he fumbled a shot under pressure. So I think you've kind of got to look at the keeper. I mean, you do have to credit Bernabei, chased down a lost cause essentially, but it was one of the ones he's played an absolute shocker of a pass. He couldn't have. It's a terrible pass. How he actually curls it the way he does with it outside his foot is. I don't know if it's bad and impressive in the same levels. It's how you can actually curl it that way, and he curled it the wrong way with it outside his foot. That says it all. And like you say, he chased down the defender. Never really. It was a keeper just dilly-dally, didn't it? At the end of the day, and he gets.
Wags up, Franny. Come on, give Bernabei some credit here.
The keeper taking about 25 touches. What do you need for that? It was like the defender passed it back, and there must have been about 10-15 yards for Bernabei still to make up with the goalkeeper. It doesn't need to take all the touches, but as I say, you've got to credit him for showing a bit of determination and stuff to get there, and then he just thought, like you say, he gets his reward. But like I said, Stephen, I think yourself needs to calm down just slightly on Bernabei. And that is, you got yourself excited early weekend on a goal in a friendly and a goal against Ross County. That's your basing your whole argument on Bernabei. Well, go and tell me any other time Bernabei's played well.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like I've said this, I've said this before. I've said this before. He hasn't got a decent run of games to get up to speed with form and also make an impression in the team. You cannot bring a player in and give him 2 games, then take him back out again. It doesn't work like that. We've said that before.
You want an upgrade in Ralston, but
I think Bernabei's better than Ralston, 110%. I do. I don't think there's anyone that
can expect a guy to just come in and out of the team, Stephen, and perform well.
But Ralston got a run of games, Franny. Ralston got 10, 12 games in a row. He did at the end of the season. Why does everyone forget this? Everyone forgets this. Alistair Johnson got injured. Ralston came in and played like a part-time footballer during that period that he was in the team. All I'm saying is, Ross, I mean, we had the back and forth. Obviously, last week it was quite funny. Everyone was getting involved. Mark Kearney's in there. That goalie was a joke. He threw a couple in the dangerous areas for his team. Bernabei is fucking honking, man. Look, that's an opinion, right? I know I'm not going to win round everybody here, but what you do have the credit of him for us, and I said it in the group chat, Greg Taylor, when they chased that ball down, he would have fell back into position, albeit maybe Greg Taylor wouldn't have made that mistake in that area of the pitch. I'll give you that one. But the determination and the enthusiasm to chase the ball 70, 80 yards up to the goalkeeper, and regardless if the goalkeeper had 3 or 4 touches, had a wee bit of breakfast and had a cup of tea, it doesn't matter. Bernabei was there to take advantage of sloppy play. I mean, if that was Maeda doing that, if that was Kyogo doing that, we'd be going, that was a fantastic bit of play. That's that we never stop attitude from that season. Bernabei showed it. And again, he's not getting the praise I think he deserves. I thought it was a great goal and a great bit of determination from an individual.
I can't argue against the determination. I cannot. It was a terrible pass. They hangs at him. But on giving the ball away, now you're saying you would credit Maeda and stuff like that for pressing and chasing down the ball. Maeda does that all the time. Most of the time, it isn't off the fact that he's given the ball away with a horrendous pass. Bernabei Bernabei gave away. Listen, I'm not here. Listen, I hope Bernabei can do well. And I've said numerous times that going forward, he's got something to offer. But his defensive qualities are absolutely horrendous, in my opinion. But he gave the ball away with a terrible pass and he done, in my opinion, the bare minimum that I expect for a Celtic player after they give the ball away, and that is do their utmost to get it back and rectify the mistake. He done that. Credit where credit's due. The goalkeeper did dilly-dally on the ball, and I did say, like Franny alluded to, I did say to you in the weekend, had Hart dilly-dallied like that, you'd have been saying he's too slow, he needs to get rid of the ball quicker, he needs to find the defender. That goalkeeper was slow. Bernabei took advantage of the goalkeeper's mistake. Had the goalkeeper been on it, Bernabei would have chased a lost cause. He'd have credited him for doing that, but he wouldn't have got the goal had it not been for the keeper dilly-dallying on the ball. But listen, he's the man that got the goal. He's not done, I have to admit, he's not done his chances any harm in the two friendlies. But for me, still, he's a long, long way off ousting Greg Taylor. A long, long way.
And I've agreed with that. I don't think I've disagreed with that. And you mentioned his one-on-one defending, or there was a point in the second half where I think it was Nakamura who plays for them. And funny enough, the name Suzuki Nakamura for us as well. But he skinned him twice and he stuck with the cause, and he got the ball out with a corner kick. And maybe that's the fine details that Rodgers kind of might change in that situation. Just to bring Mark into the comments again, I think he is getting praise, mate, because it's been used as some sort of justification for spending 3.5 million of them and overshadowing his 1 year of utter trash. His ill discipline made him chase it down. Look, we went into it last week why Bernabei might have been unsettled. There's loads of factors in this, and it took Jack and Macas 6-7 months to find a faint of form. And I think for me, Bernabei, as you said, Ross, he hasn't done his chances any harm, but I do agree he's a long way off Greg Taylor. All I'm saying is I see potential in him to grow under a Rodgers team, and in this kind of system, I think he might thrive. And if we go back to the Yokohama game, Ross, and I mean, this game was, I don't know, like you're out with your mates and you put the jumpers down as goalposts and he's just go flying at it. We had a brilliant first half. Maeda, as a number 9, got a hat-trick. Turnbull with a consolation goal at the end. Nice long-range effort. And you mentioned there Joe Hart, I think the first half, he came out for a ball and he lay down and it hit off his stomach and it ended up in the back of the net, even though he looked dead cert to get the ball. Maybe Starfelt put him off in that situation. And then a few other goals from defensive errors, like Segrist came in the second half and he was an absolute hologram, like Barkas was all them times when he played for us. He just didn't even dive for a ball, and it led to them probably scoring the majority of their chances in the second half too. So how did that game go for you? And also, you have to say this, Yokohama played Man City last night and they were 2-0 up on them in the first half, albeit City came back and won the game 5-3, but it just proves they're a good attacking outfit. They can score goals, they can play against the world's best teams and still causing problems. So we bit of heart from that. And also, as you said, pre-season, we conceded 6 against West Ham last year. Wasn't good. We were all a wee bit upset about that. Do you have the same feeling towards that one?
That was really bad timing. I thought you were going to go further on. Aye, it's similar. I mean, you've brought the West Ham game up there. Nobody last season that never even had a second thought of that game, although it was a drubbing. You could, what was it, 6-4 that game was? Was it 6-4? Aye, that's right.
Yeah.
Aye, I mean, it's not good to lose 6 goals in any game. Again, it's pre-season. I never actually seen the full game, because I was working, but I seen like the highlights. But I mean, off the highlights, you're looking at Maeda playing through the middle. Is Rodgers going to deploy that? I'm sure we'll get onto that at some point in this podcast. But he scored a hat-trick and he made a nuisance of himself, and that pace, getting in behind. I don't know how Maeda would work, and certainly domestically in the league, because he's not going to get that space to run in behind like he did in that game. Because obviously, as you are fully aware, that teams sit deep against Celtic domestically. So I don't know how that would work. We'd need to see. But certainly in that game, that was the biggest take for that game, was how Maeda played in through the middle. Listen, I don't know if he could, if Rodgers is going to like deploy him as that or keep him on the left. It's difficult to say at this moment in time. But I did enjoy what little I'd seen him playing through there. But I'm struggling even. I can't even mind what I had for my dinner tonight. Never mind what the goal. But
Maeda's goals are pretty much all carbon copies for each other.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think most of his goals were one-touch finishes, a bit like Jack Magnuson. You mentioned there, Ross, about obviously Scottish clubs play deep, and we've seen a couple of them training clips during the week. Franny come up on Twitter where Rodgers is like, not teaching the players, that's such a stupid phrase to say, but kind of back to the goal, laying off the play, making the runs in behind, and he kind of referenced that with Maeda playing as a number 9, that improved in the Yokohama game. He was dropping deep, he was coming into Celtic's half, taking the ball, linking the play up with the wingers, and that's something we really didn't kind of identify with his game last season, or when he first joined. He was just a winger, closing down pace, as people questioned his touch all the time. I did, I know most of us did, but what I've seen of him, he looks more composed at the number 9. He can hold the ball, he can pass it. Yes, sometimes he still gives it away, but again, it's a determination and enthusiasm to get the ball back. But like Ross said, I mean, the clips you see online, he chased down the goalkeeper all the time. He was chasing down the defence. He got a hat-trick. And I think as an option, he's a valuable one for that number 9 position. Maybe not in front of Kyogo, maybe playing with him, or just as backup and keeping his left wing position.
I think, like we said, pre-season friendlies can't really read much into them, but sometimes when you've got a new manager coming in our case, Ben Rodgers, you look at them to maybe see if you can pick up on anything that it might be going to do and stuff. Fucking no chance. No chance of me even playing the year, I think. But I think that's maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if he deploys Maeda through the middle more often than he does out in the left. Like you say, Stephen, I thought he did drop deep pretty well and link up the play well. And like it's no, he plays up front through the middle for Japan. Now I'm not going to sit here and say Postecoglou didn't ken Maeda's best position. I mean, Neners knew Maeda before he came in and stuff. And I think he was top goal scorer in the J League before he came. So that suggests he maybe did play through the middle of funny enough, Yokohama. It was Yokohama we got him for as well, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was we got him for there. So Postecoglou did know him and obviously seen that he could utilise him on the left better. I think a lot of that was to play Kyogo through the middle, which is proved correct. He's a lot better through the middle than if you had to maybe swap the two of them around. But I wouldn't be surprised if certainly when we seem to be bringing in we've brought in a few wingers so far this window. Is he looking at maybe using Maeda as a third option striker? I think we've all said that we could be doing with another striker. I think Kyogo signing the new deal kind of cements his position as number 1 if we've got to play that number 1 striker up front. I expect big things, or I'm certainly excited about. I think Rodgers could maybe work a wee bit of magic with him, and Maeda could be that third option. Certainly, similar to Bernabei, done himself no harm and cementing himself in that, like, or staking a claim for it. I don't see him being the number 1 striker, but I think he's looking like a more viable option in the sense that, like you say, he's dropping deep. Like Ross said, he'll not have the space in behind it a lot of time in the SPL and stuff. Teams will sit deep. The pitches sometimes aren't as long, but if he's able to drop deep and link up, play it out wide and stuff, and maybe drag the defenders 20, 30 yards out for their goal where they didn't want to be, then opens up the space, and he's obviously got the pace to get in behind. So I think that's one thing I've taken from pre-season is it's exciting to see where Maeda might play if he's got to still kind of take up that left sort of for the left wing position, which I think we all agrees he was brilliant, and defensively he was even superb in that position. He was pretty much one of the first names in the team sheet, and I think I was right in saying he was at one point Ross's favourite player. It was just a period he was going through that Ross was absolutely loving him. And
imagine that combination of Bernabei and Maeda down the left-hand side.
What a bit
frightening,
some amount of running backwards Maeda would have to do, that's for sure.
No first touch between them.
So it's exciting just seeing that, seeing Maeda through the middle, and it did look a better football player than I think we all rate Maeda, but like you say, some of his first touches sometimes are terrible. It's it's mad how he just seems like one of these players that just you can't get the ball if he just runs with it. But I think he'll be deployed through the middle more often. He might even bang in about 20 goals. It would depend on how much game time he gets, but if he plays enough, seeing his movement and the way he was linking up, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a lot of goals.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And people are coming in the comments here saying Kyogo and Maeda could maybe interchanged in the wing positions, because Kyogo originally was a left-hand sided attacker. Patrick McLaughlin confirmed that as well in the comments. But yeah, it's exciting times for us in terms of tactical changes and things we're seeing differently. But I do want to come on to a couple of players that, I don't know, some say might be improving or making an impact. One could be David Turnbull. He looks different under Rodgers. Everyone's saying he's a Rodgers type of player. Could be that creative midfielder again. He doesn't have to do as much running, kind of tracking back, license to roam. And then on the other hand, you've got Haksabanovic, who, for me, just fails to impress every single time he starts a game. And it's mind-boggling because, for me, he has all the talent in the world. He's got an amazing first touch. He's got a low centre of gravity. And just sometimes, in my opinion, it just looks like he can't be fucked. When he loses the ball, he's just like, poof. Do you know what I mean? Where do you see their future to Celtic, especially Haksabanovic, the latter of the two? Where do you see them going or happening with them in the summer?
Well, touching on Turnbull first, I think I've said numerous times, and I think a lot of people have, that maybe, certainly under Ange, you were looking at it and going, right, Turnbull isn't getting a lot of game time for Turnbull. Maybe it's Franny's holding a yawn in there.
everyone falls asleep in this podcast now.
I've said, like, Turnbull. That was pretty funny, Franny. That maybe for Turnbull's career he'd be better moving on, but I've lost it. No, he'd maybe be better moving on, but he's got a new opportunity under a new manager now. And for me, I think Turnbull is. I'm not saying he's going to get the team in front of O'Reilly, but there is a potential there where Turnbull could be the sort of Armstrong, Rodgers' first tenure. I think he's got all the credentials to be that. He shoots as well as Armstrong. His passing is outstanding. I think it was early on in that game on Saturday. He played that one over the top for it was Abada. It was an absolutely sublime pass. Like, just didn't even look, just took it in his stride, sort of on the half turn, right over the top. But Abada didn't even need to break stride. David Turnbull is technically a really good footballer. I don't know for sure if he can sort of break past an O'Reilly, but we lost Aaron Moy at the end of the season. There, obviously he's retired, and you look at
thank fuck.
But you look at David Turnbull. Aaron Moy, he came up with a good few goals in that late run into the box and stuff, and he done it really well. I think David Turnbull, well, he certainly showed the first sort of 6 months of Angie's tenure at Celtic. David Turnbull showed that he can be a big player in a Celtic team who are trying to win a league title. He scored a lot of important goals in that time. He then got injured, and he had to come out of the team. Well, he came out of the team, and at that point we then signed O'Reilly and Hatate, and he just couldn't quite make his way back into the team. But again, like I've said, it's a new manager, it's a clean slate. David Turnbull's a very good footballer, and he's got every opportunity to try and maybe make. I was going to say make the grade at Celtic. I think he's proven already he has made the grade at Celtic, but there is a lot of good players and a lot of competition in that team. So again, it's that one that I find myself saying a lot. Time will tell, but he's certainly what he's laughing at.
I thought you were going to. Yeah,
what?
I thought you were actually going to go for conjecture, but you didn't.
No, but anyway, listen, time will tell on that. But David Turnbull has got all the ability in the world, and he is good enough to be an important and good Celtic player. we'll see what happens. In terms of Haksabanovic, it's like you've said, Stephen. You've nailed it. Like, he's got a low centre of gravity. He's got a great first touch. You can tell he's just technically good. He's a cultured footballer. I don't know what his best position is. I said at some points last season that I preferred him out wide. I've seen him on both sides now, and I'm underwhelmed, to say the least. He comes up with moments of class. He's capable of top drawer moments, but he needs. Maybe it's the same as the sort of argument you've made for Bernabei. He needs a run of games. He's that sort of type of player where try to get fitness and stuff like that. He's that build, if you like. He needs games. If he's not playing, the fitness just kind of comes away because he's not a natural athlete. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong in that, by the way, in saying he's not.
I totally agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. Right. I think you can tell with him. He just looks, when he's not playing, he looks a bit slower, a bit more lethargic, and maybe a wee while to get up the fitness.
But then you look at it as well, and as I say, I've not been overly impressed. I like him coming in off the left, and he gets that curler. He's done it a couple of times last season. Could he? I think it's maybe you, Franny. It said, or it might be you, Stephen. I'm not sure. It said that his best position would be the number 10. I don't know. I've not seen enough of him in that position. But then you look at it and you think, well, if that is his best position, he's up against O'Reilly. He's up against Turnbull.
Hatate can play there.
Hatate can play there.
Home.
I think that's aye, or is it home? Whatever it is.
Just call him Thiago.
But we've got a lot of options in that position. But then you look at him, we've got a lot of options all over the park, really. In terms of like at the attacking end of the field, I don't know. Again, it's let's see what the season brings. If he's going to be in the squad, he needs to stake a claim. Again, like Turnbull, he's got ability. He's got all the attributes to be a good Celtic player, but can he get in the team ahead of certainly the new guys that we've signed in terms of the winger? Can he get in the team if he's want to play the number 10 in front of the guys that I've mentioned? I just don't know. But it's exciting to see who can stake a claim or who can continue on for what they've done last season. And it's a good time to be a Celtic supporter now off the back of a treble, a new manager, signings coming in, probably more signings to come. I'm looking forward to the season.
100%. And I think for Turnbull, mostly there, Ross, it's a clean slate, isn't it? From what he had previously. I mean, maybe that style didn't suit him, Franny, that kind of never stop attitude, constant press, and maybe Rodgers takes that away from the game and just like focus on yourself, do what you do great. And like what Ross said there, that ball he did in the first half for Abada just pinged to him. Abada just took it on the run. It was excellent, and we know Turnbull can do that, and also scoring from outside the box, which is something I think we lack in terms of people taking digs from maybe 25 yards, 20 yards. And it's something maybe we miss from the game, and Turnbull adds that. And in regards to Haksabanovic, I think you said it in the chat as well, Franny, he's frustrating. I think that's the way to sum him up, and maybe it's bad of me to say, but I would happily let him go. Like he comes on and he does, like Ross said, there are bits of quality, he scores a couple of cracking goals, but when he starts games, when he's there to make an impact from the start, he does virtually nothing. And you can't come onto a pitch when we're 4-0 or 5-0 up because you're playing without the pressure. Maybe he can't handle the pressure of being a starter and being in that environment where you have to produce week in, week out. And he likes coming off the bench. Jed Thomas said it, super sub. Maybe that defines him. Maybe that's what he is and is always going to be at us. So where do you think they stand? And like Ross said, do you think Turnbull can maybe stake a claim over the likes of O'Reilly? We wouldn't have thought that last season.
Quite possibly. I agree with what you're saying in the fact that he maybe doesn't need to do the press as much or cover as much yards, so to speak, as what Postecoglou might have wanted or even expected for a player. And we all know he's not necessarily blessed with a lot of pace, but when he's got the range of passing he's really comfortable on the ball. You struggle to get the ball off him at times, similar to not he's good with that. We sort of a bursty pace over maybe 5-10 yards to get away for somebody. He does protect the ball well when he takes it in and sort of drops his shoulder and goes away. So there's no doubt in David Turnbull's ability. It's whether he can stake a claim, because if you're looking at Celtic's midfield, we're obviously got to be guessing that maybe Brendan Rodgers will maybe play the 4-2-3-1 type thing.
Yeah.
What he went with last time. And it's hard to try and make a case to put Turnbull in as a starter, I think, when you consider the positions and stuff. But as like the cliche is, it's a clean slate for the guy. He's another one that's done okay enough in the. It's another guy that's done okay in pre-season. He's done. He's not just sort of went through the motions. He's shown that he's still maybe he's trying to stake a claim. But like I've said it before, if it's Turnbull, I think the rest of the window will be interesting for Turnbull, or he'll need to. I'm sure he will be having conversations with Brendan Rodgers. Like we say, Scotland are flying at the moment on course to win to go into another major tournament. Mm-hmm. He's probably got aspirations to at least get in that squad for that. And will another season like he just had at Celtic, does that maybe struggles to get that place on the team then if he's not playing as regular? So I think I'd be comfortable with Turnbull staying, because you can't have too many good players, and I think Turnbull is a good player. But I think for Turnbull's sake, I think he needs to be a bit selfish and think, can I break into this team, or for the sake of his own career and his international career, does he need to think about moving on? I hope he stays, because I think in a couple of pre-season games he's shown us what he can still do. It's just whether he's got to get the chance consistently to do that. But like Ross said, it's time will tell, I suppose. Haksabanovic is, it's like you say, Steve, it's so frustrating. I think the only time he's really impressed me when he started was against Shakhtar Donetsk and away from home in the Champions League. He started that game really well. But apart from that, I can't really think of a game where he played well for the start. Obviously, the famous ones that I think he came on against Hearts and obviously scored.
St
John's scored a beauty, then started against Hearts the game after, and he was absolutely honking. He's a player. Yeah. I think I love like he has got all the attributes to be a top player. He feels like a proper European style player, but it's just not doing it. I would at least give him another 6 months. I think it's interesting with Haksabanovic. I think he might be better in the number 10, but he's always looked better when he's played on the left. And Rodgers kind of liked Sinclair. Obviously liked him to hit the byline, but Sinclair did cut in a lot, which Haksabanovic has got a great chop to come inside and just seem to curl one in. So there's plenty of arguments to make for him to be Jota's replacement, but everybody's saying, it's got to be Tilly, or it's going to be the new guy, or we need to go and get somebody. So I think that says a lot for where maybe some of the fan base see Haksabanovic, where we're not really championing for him to be Jota's replacement. But it's not one I'd be overly disappointed. I want us to give him a chance, at least give him the next 6 months to January or something to try it. But if we get decent money for a guy that we only bought for $1.5 million, I think it was $2 million, that isn't really a first team regular, it's maybe one you do consider. But I would certainly be giving him the next sort of 6 months and seeing if he can stake a claim, because I do think he's a top player, but he's not really showing it when he starts.
I mean, he loves getting his hair done and his teeth, doesn't he?
He's got the diamond teeth, hasn't he?
Maybe he's the version of Mario Balotelli or something. Joe, one of them type people, like has all the talent in the world, but only produces maybe once in about 50 games. And you said Scott Sinclair there, and you're right. Like Rodgers didn't like him to hit the byline, but he also played him in that like inside forward position where he made the run off the last kind of defender, and he got loads of goals, 25 goals his first season. So I mean, it's not to be sniffed at. Me personally, I don't think Haksabanovic would have the pace to do that type of thing. I know he can maybe do it with a ball over maybe 5 yards, but he dies a death when he does that, and he's slow as chips. But we'll see what happens. And the coin Ross, time will tell on that situation. And I think Patrick McLaughlin, I mean, on the tactical side of things, I think being flexible, be able to hit a 4-2-3-1 and also a 3-5-2, different dynamics for different games, European level, SPFL, cups and stuff. So yeah, it's exciting. But you spoke of conversations. Ross, I'll come to you first. And a conversation that not got leaked, but we were told of I think it was last night, it was published on Twitter and stuff, and Rodgers has come out and said he had a heart-to-heart with Lila Abada, and it looks like he's confirmed that he's going to stay at least for this season. I mean, in the conversation, they were having a frank discussion about, obviously, ambition, being improving, where he sees himself in the team, and Rodgers really likes the look of him. He's been watching him closely since the end of last season, obviously, when he was confirmed as a Celtic manager. But how good of a thing that Abada's staying, kind of add to his numbers again and produce a season, the seasons like he said previously, and also doesn't that show the kind of influence that Brendan has around that team already?
I think it does, aye. It's another reason why Celtic got Rodgers, because he's able to speak to guys and gain that instant respect because of what he's done as a manager. I think it's a very good thing that Abada's staying. I think he's still a young guy. I understand you what if the offer comes in, you want to maybe go and play in a bigger league, a higher quality league. But I think right now the best thing for Abada would be to stay at Celtic. And you spoke about what were we reading there?
Oh no, it's Stephen's granddad's comment.
Can you mind, Fran? He talks in slow motion, for fuck's sake. You were talking about like could was it Franny to say could Haksabanovic play that sort of Scott Sinclair role? I think, albeit it's on the other side, I think Abada is totally geared up to play that type of role. Absolutely. And I think Rodgers will deploy him like that. And I think probably, listen, I know we've got a lot of wingers, but I think, and I know Teleo is injured now, but I think even if he was fit at the moment, Abada's got the jersey. I think he'll be first choice going into the start of the season, and Abada can only lose the jersey by not performing. But totally I think agree. The way Rodgers will set up, I think it will suit Abada. When Rodgers, he had like Sinclair on one side, and I think it was like Paddy Roberts on the other. Sinclair was obviously more dynamic, like an Abada, maybe a Haksabanovic, but obviously we've brought in this June. He could be that sort of, by all accounts, he's tricky. He could be that sort of Paddy Roberts style. It's difficult to say. I'm only like surmising that he could be that because I've not really seen the guy at all. Yeah. But again, this is why we're excited to get the season started and see what can happen. But certainly, going back to Abada, I think it's a really good thing, and I think he had a really good. Certainly the first maybe half of his first season, he was outstanding. He obviously didn't play as much football last season, but I think he could probably have his best season in a Celtic jersey this time around under Rodgers. I think it's geared up for that for him.
Yeah, I think you perfectly summed up the whole Scott Sinclair thing there. Like, do you know what I mean? I think he's tailor-made for that. And what I've seen in pre-season as well, Franny, he seems to be actually taking the last defender on, which we're all crying out for him to do. And he seems more, this may sound stupid, but purpose in his running, just bang, just getting to the byline, getting into the box, and he's linking up the play. He assisted a goal as well in one of the pre-season games. And I think for me, like a young guy, 21, there was already talk of him going to the Premier League and going to different leagues around the world, but he might have been unsettled, obviously, maybe because he was in and out of the team last season. But it seems like to me, Rodgers just kind of went, this is my plan for you. If you stick to this, you can make this next level. And I mean, a player like Abada being coached by Brendan Rodgers is his dream come true. Like, and Suarez, Sterling, you just look at his track record. He's been there, he's done it. And if he can take Abada to maybe Sinclair levels, I think that'll be frightening for the league.
Oh, no, totally. I mean, you say take it to Sinclair levels. It'd be interesting to certainly look at their numbers over the two seasons. it would be interesting to look at the numbers over the 2 seasons. I didn't think Abada would be that far away from Sinclair's numbers. Now, I'm not trying like Sinclair's
Sinclair scored 95 goals
about
in 3 years.
Three seasons. Abada's better be close enough to that. Like, better be all right. Like, because I think I'm pretty content with Abada's numbers. Like, for a young laddie coming in, I think he's scored plenty enough goals, assisted enough. So I think you can't really ask for much more of Abada, but it will be interesting to see what was that one?
You don't want to know. It's just
I didn't like this guy. I don't like it. It'll be very interesting.
I've got a beamer
because there's no doubt in the guy's got ability and stuff, and like we say, he's still young. He'll still be learning year on year, and wingers can go hot and cold, and he's certainly had a good start to the season and pre-season and stuff. So I'm glad Abada's hanging around, because there's similarities to Abada than there is to James Forrest in the way they like to play. They're not the trickiest.
That's another good point. It's another good point.
They're not the trickiest on the ball and stuff, but they're very direct. They like to cut inside and stuff. We all know Abada has just got that knack of being at the right place at the right time when the ball's on the opposite end. He managed to find his cell.
Thought that was something else.
He manages to find his cell just in the back post.
Sorry.
That's all right. So with a guy like Rodgers as well, coaching that and just helping it grow, I think it'll be a big season. Like I say, he might have been unsettled and stuff with not playing as regular. I mean, as much as we're sort of feeling bad up here, we'll agree Maeda was probably number one in the team sheet when it came to being out left of the front three under Ange, and Jota just had to be in the team. So unfortunately for Abada, he just found it too hard to sort of dislodge the two players. So it's definitely exciting to see what Abada can do under Rodgers, and he has lost it. We've all lost it, Alistair. Absolutely all lost it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Abada can do this season.
Yeah, I think we all are. And I think it's a great kind of, not that it, I mean, to be fair, at the end of the season, I think I was one of the ones who said that he's one of the guys who I wouldn't mind losing if I got a couple of quid in for him. But like, I know we don't really go off the pre-season, but watching him, he looks bulked up a wee bit more. And I'm saying more direct. And like you said, Franny, another good point. I never actually noticed the whole James Forrest kind of comparison. They're not tricky, but they have speed. And when they get past the defender, and that's basically it for the right back or left back, whoever's facing them. But we'll kind of move on, Ross. And I mean, you have your Boona. I have my Salah and Joey, but I can't believe you said that again. But we'll move on from that, and we'll go to Kyogo. I mean, it was confirmed by Rodgers that he's going to need shoulder surgery eventually. Maybe not now, but down the line. So do you think that's cause for concern that we will need that first striker in? If he's looking at Maeda as a number 9, we'll have O, and if Kyogo's going to be dipping in and out again this season, is it like one of them priority positions where you have to get someone to fill that void?
I actually didn't know that. What you've just said, that's news to me. So,
well, there you go.
I mean, I've been saying that we needed a third striker anyway, even before Maeda came in. I know I said Maeda done like really well in that game against, who was it, Yokohama Marinos. He did do really well. He got a hat-trick. Ange used Maeda as a central striker out of necessity a couple of times. I don't remember who he played. I think one of the games against Livingston, and he wasn't that great. And I don't know whether it's because of what I said earlier, where the defence was pretty deep. I don't know if. Listen, it looks like Rodgers is going to try and use him as a number 9 more so than on the left, because he hasn't played him on the left once yet. But for me, I'm yet to be convinced, as well as he done against Marinos, I'm yet to be convinced that he can be a number 9. He can be used as a number 9. I've been impressed by, but again, he still needs to. Well, he's certainly not going to be the first choice. If we were playing one up front, wouldn't be the first choice. At the moment, if we were playing one up front and Kyogo was injured, would I have Maeda in front of him? I don't know. It's
in front of
one. Aye. As the central striker, if we were playing one up front, now I know we aren't going to. I'm just like, I'm trying to put it in a sense of who I think's ahead in the pecking order. I don't know, but it's a roundabout way of answering your question. I do think we need a third striker. If Kyogo's going to be out the team, I think the drop off if you play Maeda or O it's a fair drop off for Kyogo, and I know he's such a good player, Kyogo. If you wanted to probably keep the team playing the same way in terms of a striker who is going to work his socks off and run the defenders down, then you would probably look at a Maeda to come in for him. I was looking staunch today. I don't know. As I say, you maybe look at a Maeda to come in to keep that sort of chasing the defenders down. But then who does that? He's not that. He's not that type of.
Do you remember we played Abada for the middle and he scored like 3 goals in 2 games?
Again, necessity, wasn't it? But...
well, it's going to be a necessity regardless. Do you know what I mean? That Kyogo the first choice striker.
People have made the case about Abada being probably more of a striker than a wide man. For me, he's a wide man all day long. I think if you play Abada, I don't think he's. And I know you said he's bulked up. If you play Abada in that position, I think it's got shades a Lewis Morgan or a Mikey Johnson getting played at Ibrox. That sort of. That's what that reminds me. I don't make a decision. Make it. I know. I really don't know. It's. But listen. I'm totally on the fence. I cannot decide who I would have. But listen, a roundabout way. I think we do need a third striker. But are we going to get somebody in that's better than Maeda or O? Who know they're going to come in and most likely be the understudy to Kyogo, unless we get another Kyogo, which is highly unlikely. I don't know, but I would like to see a third striker come in as every bit as much as I would like to see another centre half coming in, which by all accounts is in the offing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It is a hard situation because if you look at it, Franny, Kyogo, O, and effectively Maeda, you've got your 3 strikers there, right? Yeah, maybe being greedy, you want that kind of guy coming in to be the experienced guy to come in when Kyogo's out, but then you might stunt the development of O, and you might not give the opportunities to Maeda to play for the middle again. And Ross, you said it, he did well against Yokohama, but that may be different against a team that plays the low block. And we haven't really, I know we've seen him link up the play, but I mean, in that type of situation, when they're sitting on the 18-yard line, can he be intricate? Can he move around? Can he get in them spaces like Kyogo does? That's still up for debate. But in regards to it, this shoulder injury isn't going away. It's every season since he's been with us. He's been out for long periods of time. It seems like to me he's going to bite the bullet and get the surgery. Maybe 6 to 7 weeks. I'm not a doctor, but it's a shoulder. It's not the most serious thing. Hopefully it can be fixed soon and he's back in action. But where do you stand on it? I mean, we've seen the struggle Ross went through. I think the majority of us feel the same because you don't want to have 4 technically strikers on the books because that's top heavy. And it's like keeping them all happy, rotating and all that type of stuff. Maybe with tweak formations if Kyogo ever gets injured. But should we bring in a 3rd or 4th striker now?
Well, I suppose it's not a 4th striker if you're saying Maeda's got to be your left winger. It's how you look at it. You could say Maeda's an option to go up front, but he's not classed as your striker. I know I said earlier that I think Maeda could probably get utilised more through the middle. And maybe that's what Roger's thinking is getting. It might be one of the ones. I know he said he'll need an operation to fix it, but it's not that he needs an operation. It's just that he could play on and run the
Oh,
risk.
it could, yeah.
He can play on it. It doesn't need an operation as such. It's just if he doesn't want to have this issue, he needs to get an operation. Whereas it's obviously every time he maybe falls a certain way, he's running that risk. His shoulder popping out, and obviously he'll maybe be out for anything between a week to a couple of weeks. But if he obviously gets operation, I think you're right, you're saying, Stephen, it'll be 4 to 6 weeks. So is he maybe thinking get it done early and just miss the start of the season? I think it'd be a brave decision to, before a ball's kicked, really, is to try and do it. But it's maybe one of the ones I would maybe try and do it so he's ready for the Champions League games that start in, I think they start September or something, at the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do it, maybe you're better doing it in January or something when he's ready to go for the Asian Cup. Just do it then, because you've got to lose him anyway, so may as well just give him an operation then. So it's,
sure, Japan always started to say about that.
Probably, but can only but try it, eh? Only but try it. I think if we are going to bring another striker, it's like you say, you probably want the more experienced guy because you've got who's young. Maeda's still kind of young in his own right. So you don't want to stunt his development. Maybe like an older sort of experienced striker who understand his position within the team, knowing that he is there just really to maybe play 10 to 12, 10, 15 games a season and stuff. A few sub appearances here and there. It's just really to supplement what's already in. But it's trying to get that guy because you obviously still want the guy to be motivated and stuff. So it's a hard balance. You don't want to end up with like a Carlton Cole or a Colin Kazim-Richards or something, but then do you go for a young guy and it's like he's hungry and he's want to play every day, every game and stuff, so it could upset things. It's a hard one. It's just, if we are going to get another striker, just when Ross was obviously talking about them, I hope it's somebody that's no agent, because Kyogo and Maeda are 3 potential striking options will all be going to that Asian Cup. So if we are going to get another, we might just need to think about getting another striker just for the sake of that.
But I think it's getting to the stage where I think Celtic at some point during that Asian Cup will have they'll use their. I think they're allowed to postpone a couple of games.
Yeah,
I think they'll probably. It's going to get to the stage where they'll do that, because what other options are they going to have?
But here, can you imagine the headlines if we postpone games? Celtic running scared. Celtic afraid to drop. No, I mean, it's like wags up. We've got 90 players at the Asian Cup. We're stuck with 6 players. What do you expect to happen to them?
And it's within the rules. We're allowed to do it. So
no, it's a FIFA rule, isn't it?
Aye.
Exactly. I think Alistair Jack, he wants to sign Lawrence Shankland. Alistair, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's
saying you want to do it.
Nah, he's not giving me that one. I wouldn't have Lawrence Shankland about me. Not a chance.
You're forgetting I can see the comments, Stephen.
I know you can see the comments, to be fair, but I have to say, I love the comments tonight. They're so funny. Ross, you're getting it nuts here with your shirt, by the way. Pink salmon.
I got it the last time. I've put it on the night.
All I'm seeing.
I put it on the night, and I was like, I'm going to get pelters for this like the last time.
Joe P's wishing you a happy belated anniversary to you and your good lady, buddy. Thanks. But in terms of that, we'll move on. Obviously, the incomings today. It was confirmed that Yang Hong-jung and Kwon Huk-kyu have both signed on 5-year deals from their respective Korean clubs. Don't ask me who they are, because I still can't remember. I think one of them's called Gaegwon. I think it's that. And then Bussen Park and K-League 2. But they've signed. We have spoken about them quite a lot, so obviously not to spend a lot of times on them, Ross, but that's a defensive midfielder coming in terms of Huk-kyu. And then Yang is coming in as the right-sided midfielder, which he confirmed today in his interview. So do you think, with them two coming in, for me personally, I don't see the defensive midfielder being in the squad straight away. I think he's more development side of things for me. But I think Yang, from what I've seen on YouTube, looks like he could come in and make an instant impact on the team.
I couldn't disagree with that, Stephen. Again, I've not seen much of either of them, but I think, like you've said there, the winger, he can play on both sides. And I think at the moment, you look at it, we've played James Forrest, who done well there the other night, and he's played on the left before for Celtic.
Yep.
So he could do it. We've got Haksabanovic. We've all, like aired their reservations over him. Who else have we got out there? We could play Maeda out there, we've played there numerous times. He's probably our best option, but then we've got this guy who's come in. By all accounts, he's tricky. He's off the ilk of a Jota. I don't know if he's as good as that. Again, time will tell. But the defensive midfielder, I think you're right. I think he probably is. I don't like to say one for the future because we don't know how good he is. But in terms, it's a defensive midfielder, I think, is what we've been needing. But I was looking, listen, I don't know if we're going to do it yet. I was looking for a big, tall, physical, sort of fair bit of experience, maybe about the sort of 27, 28 bracket. We've got this young guy in. I don't know, like you say, I don't think, I'm maybe doing him a disservice, but I don't think he's going to go into our midfield anytime soon. Although, again, he might be used in Champions League games to sort of sit in and make us a bit more durable, harder to beat. But I really don't know. But it's another body in the door. And by all accounts, we're getting another defender. But I would still, and I've said numerous times, I don't think we'll break our transfer record. I still think that. But I would still like to see, we've said, always have said, it's about quality now, not quantity. And I think the signings we've made so far, in my opinion, without having seen them fully, is still quantity. I think we're needing to add quality now, and if we don't, as much as these players could be great, because we didn't know anything about Hatate, we didn't know anything about Kyogo, Maeda, etc. And they've come in and done brilliant for Celtic, and these guys could do as well. But on the face of it, it looks like quantity still, and I want to see some quality coming in the door.
Speaking of quality, Alistair Jack, I'll come to you first, Ross, since you're speaking. Serious question: does the lust for a big name player drive you nuts?
It doesn't drive me nuts, but I don't think it's going to happen. You've seen names like McTominay, Tierney, all being bandied about. I don't think these are guys that are going to come into our club. I think Rodgers has alluded to it. I think it was maybe last week that not in so many words, he basically said this transfer record breaking thing is not going to happen. The way they've been working is the way we'll continue to work. But I would still like to see, as I say, guys that when you sign them, you think, right, this guy is going to go in there, he's going to either stake a claim or he's going to be the first choice. The guys that we've signed, you're still like, oh, don't know what he's going to be like. And I know for the most part that's the type of player Celtic will sign. But if we want to make an impact in the Champions League, we need to start signing guys that are, right, he's going in there, that's to play there. Not could he stake a claim in this team, or is he a project? Or the signings so far have, to sum up, the signings so far have been the way Celtic have been signing under Ange, and it's worked. Yeah. But it's not that sort of levelly player where you, right, okay, we're really going to stake a claim and try and go for it in the Champions League. They've been, without being disrespectful, that word, they've been slightly underwhelming, although they've been to the way Celtic have signed.
Yeah, I totally agree. And do you know how nice it is, Ross, that you're speaking my language finally about getting more quality players through the door? Because you're so right. These have been quantity signings again, beefing out the squad. That term, which I'm starting to hate and despise, by the way. We do not need to beef the squad out. We need to add quality. And obviously, these guys could come in. We're not disrespecting them. I mean, Yang was a K-League player, young player of the year, Franny. Kwan has come in already and said, "Let's fight in paradise." Good English, by the way. I didn't expect him to do it, and his interview was fantastic just to hear him speak like that. But where are you in this? Obviously, getting the two Korean boys in. Are they going to fight for a position straight away? Obviously, me and Ross have alluded to the fact maybe Yang will. Kwan, not so much. But where do you stand on it?
It's hard to say because it's like as I'm saying, we know nothing about these guys. We only know the YouTube clips, and by accounts with the YouTube clips, they're superb. Yang looks really exciting player and stuff. He's quick and got a trick and stuff on him. What's this?
That's something, the music night. Anyone who wants to go to it, there you go. There's the details.
It certainly looks exciting going by the YouTube clubs and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see if they do get a chance to make an impact early. I mean, these could be top players that are coming in. We just don't know. And they face it, I think there's definitely signings that are squad padding the guys that have came in. It sort of suggests that, but it is a wee bit disrespectful to the guys because we don't know anything about them. They could turn out to be really good players. We're just going to have to wait and see and things. But I think we do. I mean, I'm a sucker for. I'm like Alistair. I want the big name. I know we're not going to get the superstars of the world, but I
Mbappe. Easy.
Well, he's up for grabs, isn't he? He's up for grabs. So maybe we can swap him for somebody. I don't know, just to
Haksabanovic.
Well, by the way, his diamond teeth might cover half the bill, so he didn't know.
Exactly.
But I would like to see us go for some like. I know I've kind of said I think we'll break a transfer record. That it's kind of based on what Rodgers was saying. One of the reasons he was back and things like that was he wants to be better in Europe. And I know you could argue like Hatate, Maeda and all that came in for small transfer fees. Kyogo, incidentally, he was 5 million, so he was a bit one of Angie's higher ones. But O'Reilly was cheap as well, who I think has been pretty decent. So there is arguments to say you don't need to spend big to be successful. As much as I like telling you to say, I don't know if I would take him back. I don't actually know if I would take him back.
Wouldn't he Edward back either?
I think I would take Edward back. I think he was proper class.
Yeah, fuck him.
I think it's interesting that
fucking
Steven
Gerrard, what he done that last season.
He fucking had his best season, that was, mate.
What, in the last season? He never tried a fucking leg, man.
Scored his most goals, but
he was
mate, he was pish.
Look
at that.
Just go for Big Musa. Big Musa, take him off Gerrard. It's quite interesting that Gerrard's gone for him and no Morelos, but
El Tavaki or something.
And
he's also El Etifan, and he's also trying to sign Jack Henry, which is mental from Club Brugge. But just to come back at you, I think we can all agree.
All right, well, no allowed to finish now. Okay.
Oh no, go. Sorry, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I do want us to sign bigger quality players. Rodgers did say to Sale how he's coming back to try and improve us in Europe. And like I said, there is arguments to say that you don't need to spend money to do that when you look at your Hatates, your Maedas, your Oils. But then you look at your Carter Vickers, your Jotas, your Kyogos, they're bigger transfer fees, and they're the guys that have got with a bit of quality behind them. And there is a bit of risk to spending that kind of money, that level, and maybe spending, like breaking the transfer record and stuff, maybe spending that 10, 11 million pound. I'm not expecting every single player to buy to be of that size. Maybe one or two of them I don't see being beyond us. But I think it's one of these ones where it's, if we are going for that level of player, it's got to take longer to get them done because they'll have better offers, unfortunately, on the table than Celtic. I think it'll be a waiting game for them. I just think also Rodgers' comments about saying Celtic have dealt a certain way and will continue to do that. I found them very interesting. Is that him maybe thought, well, I thought I could maybe get some of these bigger players in, but I don't. Fees don't necessarily guarantee success, Anthony, but the
saying that.
I don't know, but I think fees also help you. Your guys are cost more money for a reason. There is less risk. There is a risk, but there's
It literally
less
feels like I'm in a delusion here. I've been saying this for months, and you two are actually agreeing with me tonight. It's like, wow.
Well,
No.
I don't know if that's just a bit of Rodgers. And it's the mindset a wee bit that he's obviously said he wants to do this in Europe now. So it's maybe you just sort of change your mindset in the way you look at it. But I certainly think we need to bring in better quality. Like Tete, God, we fucking started following his agent and everything. I mean, he'll cost not in a sense that he's costing wages. I think he would be a great signing for us. McTominay's and Tierney's of the world. I just think Tierney, I think we'll agree it would have to be a loan if we're getting him, and does it really make sense bringing him in on loan? McTominay, I know there seems to be like sort of 11 million getting bandied about for him and that. I rate McTominay. I just do not see you getting McTominay for 11 million. I think he costs north of 20 if you want him. And it's a player I would have in a heartbeat, but I don't see you getting him for 11 million. But I would like to see us spend that, like show a wee bit of ambition, take a wee risk. Like I say, I'm not expecting us to go and buy 4 or 5 guys at 10, 12 million. Maybe buy 1 or 2 at that moment. Like buy a couple at that. And then for me, that's the quality. I'm not saying they need to, but like go and spend a wee bit bigger. Go and spend a wee bit more money on guys. It doesn't need to be every single player at that.
Listen, I understand what you're saying, and Stephen, you're saying like you've been saying this for months, and we're finally agreeing. I'm not saying go out and spend copious amounts of money. Like Franny's saying, there maybe spend that and like 11, 12 million pound on 2 players. I'm not even bothered if they do that. I'm looking at, and when I'm saying add quality now, not quantity. Listen, I said it already. These guys could be quality. They could be off the level of Hatate or Maeda, but does that give you success in the Champions League? Well, looking at last season, no. So what I'm saying is, go that wee bit further, right? Maybe spend 6 to 8 million, right? We've spent it before. I'm talking about maybe spending that in 3 or 4 players who you can't guarantee, but players who are you maybe know a bit more about them in terms of they might have played, or they're playing their football in Europe and they're a bit more proven. These guys are coming over and they've never played in Europe. We don't know anything about them. I'm talking about guys, if you're spending that money on guys at 6 to 8 million pounds, of course it doesn't guarantee you success in the Champions League, but I just feel it gives you that better chance. I don't know who these guys are, but listen, we've got scouts all over the world, and Celtic have, like say, and it's probably a bad example because Julian came in and I rated Julian. I thought he'd done well for a while, and we spent £7 million on him. That's the type of player I'm talking about. A guy that's played in the French league and has got a bit about him. Like say Jens, for instance, right? He came in. For me, Celtic should have spent £6-7 million to get him. They didn't. They, for whatever reason, Ange sent him away, and he brought in Kobayashi. Ange's done a lot of great things at Celtic. That was a complete fuck up, in my opinion. Complete fuck up. For me, a guy like Jens, right? We didn't know anything about him. He came in for German football on loan. Another time, a guy like that, Celtic spend maybe 6-7 million on him. I think he is a really good player, and I think he's proven that since he's went away for Celtic. Him in there alongside Carter Vickers, for instance, right? You get they two fit and playing together all the time. And I know Starfelt has done really well, but for me, Jens is a better player than Starfelt. I think he showed enough in the time he was there. They're the type of guys that I'm talking about, maybe spending £6 to £8 million on, that can just give you that better chance. And if you add listen, we've bulked out the squad with these guys, and some of these guys might even, in time, like this season, be first choice. For certainly that winger guy, I can't remember, June. I think he could be a first choice in the team, but You look at the other guys we've brought in. We've brought in Teleo. Is he going to get? For me, he's not getting in the team in front of Abada as it stands. Home is not getting in the team in front of O'Reilly, possibly even Turnbull as it stands. The defensive midfielder we've brought in, I don't know if he's getting in the team.
Abada,
I think we've said that. Aye, there's a lot in front of them. You bring a guy like Jens in, I mean, you look at it, right, and this might be way left field, right, but Paul Pogba was available for £8 million, right?
Jesus Christ.
Now, I know it's difficult to get him to Scotland. But
please do not even say what you're going to say.
Even make the bid. Paul Pogba would have been an outstanding signing for Celtic. I don't even know if he's got a club yet, but for £8 million, for £8 million to get Paul Pogba, 30-year-old, a tall, athletic, physical presence midfield player who's done it in the Champions League. He's done it. He's got a point to prove. I think that type of player, Celtic should be going in for him, try to get him. I'm not saying we'll get him, but ask the question. That's all you want. That is the type of player that can take us to the next level, and adding in that experience to the guys that we've got already. Listen, that's the type of player, the ilk that I'm talking about. Whether we can get them is another question. Is another thing altogether. It's no Football Manager. Listen, I'm not saying I did say that before, that it might be way left field, but I'm just using that as an example. But for me, if Paul Pogba wanted to come to Celtic and we could have got him, for me that is a no-brainer of a signing to make.
I like the ambition, right? I 100% mentioned players like Paul Pogba, who was world class in his pomp and kind of lost his way. I don't want to go into my opinion on him because it'll turn into another 4-hour kind of back and forth. I have my opinion. I don't think he'd be a great fit. One player who I do think would be a great fit, and he plays for United, is Donny van de Beek. Could you imagine, like you're talking about making the difference? He was in a semi-final with Ajax with Frankie de Jong and Maeda de Ligt and all playing at centre-back. He's got experience. You imagine playing him alongside McGregor and Hatate? That's a different level in my opinion. That's a guy who could fit in no problem. He scored at Murrayfield there against Lyon. I think Anthony's wee boy was at it. I think he scored a volley and it was a peach of a goal. But it's just Pogba for me. I get it. I do get it. But he's, as Alistair said there, he's moody, throws the toys out of the pram. We bit like Haksabanovic, different hairstyles and all that type of stuff. But again, if he has that point.
World Cups and wins.
Did Alistair say moody bastard? Yeah, I read that as my bastard. That's how I was thinking.
But no, I like that. I like the ambition. Like, if we can attract players like that, absolutely. But
it might be pie in the sky. But if you want to make that challenge in Europe, I think you need to start spending in the region of 6 to 8 million.
Yeah.
To on guys that have got that bit more experience. And I'll say it again, these guys could come in and do every bit as good as a Hatate, a Maeda, a Kyogo. But a Hatate, a Maeda and a Kyogo, albeit they might do better this time around, but they didn't really make a huge impact in the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think it's not just a kind of last time, just we seen it in the comments. I know we're saying like, like folk need to stop getting scared of going, oh, but we can't afford, what if they didn't are no successful and stuff? You can't go into that with that attitude when you're spending money, and I think that's half the problem with some fans. It's like we look at it and go, oh well, what if they didn't work it? I don't think you can hear that attitude when you've got to spend big money.
You need to risk it.
But if they're going to spend big money, Celtic would have done their due diligence. And
I know.
Yeah.
No, you get it wrong. Of course you get it. You can get it wrong, but I mean, if you do your due diligence,
we were spending 6 million 20 years ago, and we're actually balking at the idea of doing it 20 years on. And we're in the best financial position ever.
We spent 2 years doing our due diligence on Marco Kilio. So if we're going to be spending 8 or 9 million quid, you can bet your bottom dollar that people have the magnifying glasses out looking at every detail of that person's life. And it's like, I said it to you before, we're conditioned to think like accountants. We're conditioned to think like, if this doesn't work out, how can we make up the gap, the financial loss? How can we sell that player on? How can it not turn out to be another Barcast when we need to cut him free and waste £5 million? and effectively given back the Utrecht for free, even though they said they couldn't afford him. They've duped us. They've literally duped us. So they took him for free. It's mental. We got duped in that deal. But yeah, I totally agree. We need to think outside the box. And look, we're not saying spend £9-10 million, like you said, Franny, on 4 individuals.
No, I'm not saying bankrupt us
one a season.
I'm not expecting it to bankrupt us.
They improve the squad. Because that one player, like you said, Ross, could be a difference maker. And I think we can all agree the signings who've come in so far look like maybe the Postecoglou trend, look like legacy signings. And that's not, by the way, the recruitment department is getting praise from Rodgers, so they're doing a job. And he's obviously getting the final say so on these players coming in. But one player, Franny, that looks like a Rodgers signing, and he was pictured today. I mean, Celtic keeping secrets of signing reveals, by the way, is not a good thing. We knew he was there at Lennox Town with his kit. It looks like he's going to be announced tomorrow. Is a 6'3" central defender, Mayak Naraki from Legia Warsaw. He's played 60 games, scored 5 goals, and he's one of the best up-and-coming defenders in the Polish League. And going by what I've seen on YouTube, I think Rodgers played against him before with Leicester, and I think Legia Warsaw beat them in one of the games, and apparently he was excellent. So maybe this is a Rodgers signing that we've been crying out for. He fits the profile. It feels like to me, in a way, he's watched that Yokohama game and went, fuck, we need defenders. So because when Carter Vickers isn't in the team, it literally feels like we're sinking every time a team attacks, and it was like that at the end of last season. But Naraki coming in, Starfelt linked with a move away. Do you think that's linked in any sort of way, or do you think it's not beefing out the team? But if you've got 3 good centre halves there to pick from, I think that's a good option.
Oh no, 100%. I think we'll agree. We needed another centre half in because Kobayashi's really struggled. I feel Welsh. I think we've all said we feel about Welsh. Awata clearly isn't a centre half, even though they've tried to play him there. And after that, you've got Liam Scales, but I think he'll be shipped out again if possible. I don't see him having a future. Boss in Lawal, I think there's rumours he's away heading out in
Portsmouth
anyway. So I think you needed to bring something in, and signing a guy of that boy's pedigree, it's shown that for me, it's shown a wee bit of ambition as well. It's not necessarily squad like bulking out the squad. You're buying quality. You're trying to get cover. I hope it's not to replace Starfelt. I mean, Starfelt's got his mistakes in him, but he's a solid enough defender. And I think he's obviously better when Carter Vickers is in there. There's no denying that. I think it shows a bit with Starfelt as well. He gets exposed a wee bit, like he exposed badly when Kobayashi was in the team and stuff, but he was still performing, I think, at a really good level.
I think he is 6'3", genuinely. I don't know.
No idea, mate. No idea. But it's a positive sign, and I did see as well on Twitter, like menu for rumours, Stephen, that Spartak Moscow are gone for Davison Sanchez, or have had a bid accepted for Davison Sanchez for Spurs. So I'm hoping that means there's nothing really in the Starfelt rumours. And
I would say that, yeah.
You would need, I think you do need top, like you need I don't think we needed to replace a centre half. We needed one in to complement what's already there. So I'm happy that we are looking to strengthen in that and central defence and stuff like that. Would I be surprised if we go for a keeper? Probably not, but it's not one we'll be looking at. I think we really need to look at replacing Jota next.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you referenced the keeper there. We need to look at that, Franny. We need to look at that deeply and get it sorted out before the start of the season, Ross. And I mean,
your man Benji Segrest, again, he could do it.
Yeah, Benji Segrest made a good double stop against Cambo Osaka, so you can't take that away from him.
His save was absolutely horrendous.
It was abysmal. Look, it was abysmal. And he got his big feet out and he saved it, didn't he? So that's all that counts. But I mean, you look at it, Naraki coming in, Ross, and obviously the rumours this morning, very early, was Starfelt was linked with Spartak Moscow. Maybe what Franny said there, that if they've been linked with Davison Sanchez, that kind of squashes any rumour on that front. He came from Russia, from Rubin Kazan, so why would he want to go back there? I don't know. But then you look at the other defenders, Stephen Welsh, he's been linked with a move again to like Udinese, Toulouse. Maybe it's time for him to go. And then Kobayashi. So good in the ball, so good, so elegant, so composed, and can cover the ground. But see, when it comes to the physical kind of one-on-one, you're losing him. You're losing him. And for me, that's not good enough. I know we spoke before, people writing them off, and I'm not writing them off. I'm saying maybe a loan move back to Japan, or maybe like a English Championship club to kind of get him into that system of playing week in, week out again in a tougher environment in European football. Not so much back to Japan because that's where he started. But where do you think that leaves the futures of them guys in particular with Naraki coming in?
I don't know. Listen, right now, I would have Stephen Welsh before Kobayashi, but I think Kobayashi probably has a higher ceiling. Terms
I've heard that term before when I said about Bernabei.
Terms obviously, is it Navroki coming in? I'm pleased. That's the sort of, I don't know if it's the sort of signing I was sort of alluding to a minute ago, but he's got that European sort of experience playing a European league. £4
to £5 million as well.
And you're looking at, and you're going, that's a guy you're coming in, you're going, right, okay, he's probably not going to take Carter Vickers' jersey, but he could challenge Starfelt. We need somebody to come in and challenge Starfelt, because Stephen Welsh or Kobayashi are near that. A selfish point of view, I would keep both Stephen Welsh and Kobayashi, because I think you can't have too many centre halves.
But then Rodgers alluded to the fact we need to cut the squad, so I think he's probably looking at that as well.
Well, if you're looking at that, maybe it would be Kobayashi. It would go out because you could use Stephen Welsh as the sort of homegrown.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, Stephen Welsh has been at the club longer. He's not broke into the team, if you like. He's had more chances than Kobayashi, and he's not managed to do it. So for Stephen Welsh, it's maybe better that he moves on for himself personally, for his career. But I look at Navroki, and I think you hear the Starfelt rumour of Spartak Moscow. I think we needed to sign another centre half, but not because we were losing Starfelt. We need to keep Starfelt and sign another centre half. You look at it as well. Aye, we've been linked to this Dutch boy in Bavaria or something like that. He's got. Somebody mentioned it in the comments. I can't mind too, but it's been rumoured, and he's been likened to the sort of new Virgil van Dijk.
Just to come to that, apparently Sampdoria from Serie A have had a bid accepted for him. Sampdoria. There. I realised it in my head there as soon as I said it, and I fucked it again. But apparently they've had a bid accepted for him. So
I was going to say, but if we could get him in the door as well, then you would probably look at maybe offloading like a Stephen Welsh or loaning out Kobayashi. But if he's going to go to Sampdoria, then that sort of kiboshes that. But Navroki, as I say, he had to be coming in, but not because Starfelt's leaving. Starfelt has to remain, and they too have to go at it to sort of see who can partner CCV. But we're going into the start of the season without CCV, so for me, Navroki is going to start alongside Starfelt. Another reason why we need another centre half in, because we can't go into, as much as I've said Stephen Welsh has done very well for Celtic whenever he's come in, I think we can go into the start of the season and play game 3 at Ibrox with Stephen Welsh alongside Starfelt.
Totally agree.
And I know Navroki, it'll be new to him, but we've threw in guys like Alistair Johnston and Juranovic into that game as debuts. Probably won't be his debut, and they all done well. So I've not quite, again, I've not seen a lot of that guy, so I'm sort of contradicting myself in terms of how I've spoke about the Korean boys. But this guy's coming in, what age is he? About
21, 22,
is that what he is?
something like
I thought
that.
he was 23 or 24, but he's got more experience. He's played 60 games for Legia Warsaw. I dare say some of the games have came in Europe, and he's a big presence of a guy. Certainly more of a presence than Kobayashi, probably more of a presence than Stephen Welsh. For me,
22.
For me,
Keep your
he's going to go into the team straight away alongside Starfelt for the Ross County game, and he'll be in the team thereafter until such times Carter Vickers come back, and then it'll be a head-to-head for me between him and Starfelt. I say it again, we cannot sell Starfelt in this window unless
Totally agree
we
with
buy
that.
another centre-half who is of that level.
Yeah, and I think as well, it could be a good thing by pushing levels on in training, having 3 quality centre-backs to fight it out. And I think I do agree with you. We maybe need a 4th in there, like another addition. And that Dutch guy could have been it, but it looks like he's going to the Italian club, which I messed up the name. I'm probably going to get grief for years to come. But the quite ironic thing, just to leave it in this note, apparently Ivanovic played a big part in this to get Naraki to Celtic. And the most weird thing, Union Berlin were after him. They had a bid in. And apparently Ivanovic called the Naraki and was like, go to Celtic.
Oh, really?
Aye. Or maybe Naraki's shite and he's like, don't come to my club. But then that's apparently what happened. The story of events. Union Berlin, like you said, Franny, had a bid accepted. I think they were in for him, around about the same money for us, and Juranovic made the call. Strange.
Yeah,
but hey,
there you go.
We'll move on as well. Obviously, we're talking about transfers, and we'll kind of end on this one. We're an hour 26 minutes in, and great to everyone who's stuck with us. Rio Hatate, Franny, after the Cambo Osaka game, they're asking about his future, and one of the quotes were, "If I see a challenge, I'll take it." Do you think he'll be off before the end of this window?
I honestly don't know, Stephen. Honestly, I think a lot may depend on Caicedo, where he ends up. If he leaves, I think
Brighton midfielder
might come in for him, because also there was a talk of Brighton coming in. Now, I don't know. Like we said with Abada, Rodgers will have a big influence on being able to maybe talk a Hatate around to say, give me one more season, perform the way he did again, perform in the Champions League and in Europe, and you'll maybe get like Brighton are flying high and they're doing really well, but he could go, look, you'll get better than a Brighton. And I've no issue with guys like Hatate saying, I've essentially saying he's got ambition to go on to bigger and better things. Like, you do get some Celtic fans saying that nothing's better than Celtic, but we're Celtic fans were a wee bit blinkered with that. A Japanese guy, it isn't his dream to play for Celtic at the end of the day.
Of course not.
Because even like you've even got that Kwon, he's even saying that he's talking about leaving Celtic before he'd actually officially signed and all that. But I've no.
I'm going to the Bundesliga.
I bet it, like, it's not very great, but at the same time, if you look at the bigger picture, going, well, if he then moves on to like the Bundesliga or the EPL, he's probably had a good couple of good seasons at Celtic, so it benefits us. So if Hatate is to move on to a new challenge, I think Hatate could go to the top. I think he's a top player, but he's going to have to turn it on for Celtic again. So it can only benefit us if he does go. If he does get a big move, and like I've said, guys like your Hatates, your sort of foreign guys, it's not been their dream to play for Celtic. A lot of them it's to get to the EPL, whether we like it or not. It's not where the money is now, it's the Saudi League, but I think some of them still would prefer to go to the EPL first, but you just don't know if the Saudis come calling. They were apparently came calling for Hatate, but honestly, I don't believe they did, because nobody's turning down. If Mbappe's considering going to the Saudi League, nobody's turning the Saudis down at this stage. I think for me, Hatate, I think a lot might depend on what happens with Caicedo. And it might necessarily goes to Brighton, maybe Brighton go and buy somebody, and then it's that whole sort of a domino effect that eventually finds Hatate that is an option for a team.
Corvo, Eddie Howe can keep his hands off Rio Hatate, all right?
Correct.
But no, I totally get what you're saying. Obviously, he's got his friend there, Mematao, at Japan International. We tried to sign him under Postecoglou, and they're really close, and they keep in constant contact. And you look at, obviously, the earlier announcements for us with Kyogo, Maeda, McGregor signing them new deals. We're all hoping the next day or the next day after that, the week after that, we would see Hatate penning a new 4-year contract, but he didn't. And I think, to me, Roger just probably asked him and had one of them conversations maybe he did with Abada. Maybe Hatate's looking elsewhere, but he's still kind of committed to Celtic. And I know he said in that interview as well, he's looking forward to the Champions League this season, getting stuck in and giving 100%. But again, they're generic answers. And for me, it looks like he's got one foot out the door. And possibly if he gets a Brighton, if he gets a whatever type of club or even another club in a different league, he might be for the move. And where do you stand on that argument and Rio with Hatate staying at Celtic?
I think that I think you could say that most players have got one. Most players have got one foot out the door, because if a big enough club came in and the money was right and Celtic were willing to, they'd want to go. I think Hatate is still committed to Celtic, because I think it's. I heard this somewhere. The sort of Japanese culture, isn't it, where they would ask to get out of a contract. They always see their contracts out. I think Hatate will be quite happy to do that. But like Franny said, I think it will all depend on what happens with Caicedo. I think that if he goes, I think Celtic will have to seriously think about an offer coming in for Brighton. I think it will happen. And again, similar to Jota, whether Hatate wants to go or not, if they come in with a 25 to 30 million pound bid, I think this decision might well be taken out of Hatate's hands anyway. Celtic will say, look, we want that money. Celtic will not knock back 30 million pound or 25 million pound. They just won't. So listen, he could go, but I still think that if no bid comes in, or the right whatever, do you know what I mean? I still think he'll give his all for Celtic, and he'll be a very good player for us this season. I would love him to stay. I think he's, well, we all know he's a tremendous player. But
excellent,
if he goes, and we move on, and we would have to probably get a replacement for him, because I don't really see who in the squad brings what Hatate brings. I don't think, as much as I like Awata, I don't think he's at that level yet. He could be. I don't know. Maybe Celtic would be happy to have Awata in there if they sold Hatate. But again, these are all things that Father Time will tell us.
There we go again. Time will tell. But that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast, guys. Have you enjoyed it?
It's been good.
Brilliant.
Been good.
Yeah. I've had a 2-week break after I think, so it's been good to come back on and talk it, because I've just been watching for afar and just been commenting in the group chat, and sometimes that's not enough.
No, I've really enjoyed it, and also big thanks. We've got 90 watching live at the minute, so thumbs up to you guys for sticking with us. The comments have been on fire again. Everyone's getting grief. Everyone's getting involved. Interaction is off the scale. Hit the like button. Subscribe, share us among Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, whatever. Just get us on all them platforms. We're trying to grow as well. But we'll be back again Friday to preview a game that's going to be in Ireland against Wolves. But until then, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.